Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Bob. I got a question for you today. The big question today is, was Emily Dickinson, the great poet, was she really a believer? Was she a Christian? Did she believe in God? Did she have a special relationship with Jesus Christ? And is she saved? Is she in heaven? You know, you grow up and you hear about this Emily Dickinson. I think everybody's introduced to Emily at one point. It's part of the curriculum. However, she has been taken from her own reality and adopted into, let's face it, agendas of feminism and women who should not be emulated, that should get a life. Right, but nothing could be further from the truth. Emily had a very rich life. She didn't sell out. She didn't fall for the pretensions in the world, and she surrounded herself with things that brought her joy, and peace and happiness. You know, one of her critics out there, I think it might have been Alan Tate. Don't quote me, but back in the 30s, he said that Alan said that Emily lived one of the most, complete lives. And what I wanted to do today is to demonstrate that she was a Christian and that she had a great life. You know, this is Emily's birthday. Actually, yesterday was the 10th, I believe. She was born in 1832. I discovered Emily as a child, and I think I recited one of her poems for declamation, and I remember reading the book on her and doing a book report on her. Completely forgot about her for many years. And then as I got older, I don't know why, but I picked up one of her books at the local bookstore. And I was blown away. Now, I had become a Christian by then. I had somebody who had read the Bible. I'd been saved by an angel, and as a younger man, and then later on I had a born again experience where I called out to Jesus. This was after, a long search, I guess, and going through the secular curriculum that is presented to everybody. But luckily, I had a job where I didn't have to buy into the world, so to speak. I could look around and I could actually read the Bible without fear of any type of retribution from work. I had a great job that allowed me to do that, and it didn't pay me. It paid me just enough to get by. Really, I mean, I could have stayed there my whole life. But so, Emily, I wanted to bring a couple poems to your attention that proves to me, there's probably she wrote like 18, I forget how many. 1,800 poems. I'd say like half of them have a biblical reference, a Christian reference, a positive relationship with Jesus, an actual, you get the sense that she had a relationship with Jesus, and she spells it out too in many ways. One of the first poems I wanted to talk about is one of my favorite poems. It's I think it's number 904. I just had it, and I thought I had the page numbered, but it starts out, "Unto me I do not know you. Where may be your house?" And of course I lost it, but another 9. I just added it. 1 second. 964. Hey, it's live. Well, it's not going to be edited, that's for sure. Don't you love those new videos? I mean, how long did I spend editing these videos? You get the take. I mean, I guess it flows well with the low attention span that people have. But let me just read you this. It's 4 or 5 lines. 964 is the number of poems. Of the poem. She wrote 1,800. I'm reading from the complete poems of Emily Dickinson, edited by Thomas H. Johnson. Unto me, I do not know you. So this is somebody speaking. This is Emily speaking to somebody. Unto me, I do not know you. So who's unto me? Jesus says, come unto me, right? So Emily saying, unto me, I do not know you. Where may be your house? That's the first line. And then the person responding, this is a dialogue, says, I am Jesus, late of Judea, now of paradise. So obviously he's resurrected and he's being glorified. And then she says, wagons have you to convey me? This is far from thence. And then he says, arms of mine, sufficient phaeton, trust, omnipotence. And then Emily says, I am spotted, I'm a sinner. And Jesus says, I am pardoned. We are all pardoned because of what Jesus did the moment we believe in Jesus. I am small, Emily says. And Jesus says, the least is esteemed in heaven, the chiefest. Occupy my house. End of poem. That poem to me proves to me beyond a doubt. I could go on and on. We could talk, and I will. I'm going to mention a couple other poems, but that tells me that she had a personal relationship with Jesus. You know, her religion was, based on a relationship with Jesus. Religion implies work, okay? Christianity is about having that relationship, being reconciled to God, having faith, believing in God, believing in an object that is higher than you, is omnipotent, and can resurrect us. Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. So on Emily's birthday, I wanted to bring that poem out to the world's attention. I've been a fan of Emily since, I would say, 2001 or 2 or 3, somewhere around there. I would say 2002. So that's 17 years. I've done things, I've done a few skits. I've done a little mini play. I've spoken at certain events. I haven't gone full tilt on this, right? But it's worthy of pursuing. So let's just look at a couple more poems. Her life is fascinating too. She's in Amherst. Her dad's a congressman. Her older brother becomes a treasurer of Amherst University, and he gets involved with this woman, Mabel Loomis Todd, who's one of the professor's wives, but who was the most talented woman, other than probably Emily, in Amherst. She came from Washington or Baltimore, and she ends up editing all of Emily's poems, or at least her letters. Her letters, anyway. Her letters are phenomenal. You're going to see a woman who enjoyed relationships with a lot of different people, had a tremendous sense of humor, is a genius on multiple levels, as Richard Sewell says. I think it's Richard Sewell who says that. I could be wrong. But she gives unparalleled rendering to great themes of love, joy, hope, eternity, peace, botany. She was an expert in botany. It goes on and on. The Bible, she wrote with, no, this isn't the Bible. She wrote with the Bible on her fingertips as Mabel Loomis Todd, as her editor again, wrote about in the foreword to Emily's letters. So let's try to find one or two more poems. I just opened this book. I found 6 right in a row, and right around 487. Now I'm not talking pages. I'm talking the number of the poem. They're all numbered. And of course, my lighting's not that great. This is going to interfere. I'm getting older here. So let's just see what 487 says, okay? I think that's the first one I got written down here. You love the Lord. You cannot... This is about 8 lines. It's not that long. You love the Lord. You cannot see. You write him every day. a little note when you awake, and further in the day. An ample letter, how you miss, and would delight to see, but then his house is but a step, in mine's in heaven, you see. That's incredible. Wow. I there's so many poems. Every time you pick up the poem at the book, you're gonna find something new. It's impossible to probably read them all. I mean, I can see why people become Emily Dickinson scholars. I'm an admirer, Emily. I've told people I'm an amateur Emily Dickinson scholar, but that's not fair. I'm getting. Maybe I am. That's a fair. I guess that there's a wide range, quote unquote amateur scholar. All right, so let's go to 488. The first line I thought was interesting. Myself was formed a carpenter, an unpretending time. My plane and I together wrought before a builder came. To measure our attainments, we had the art of boards sufficiently developed. He'd hire us at halves. My tools took human faces. The bench where we had toiled against a man persuaded we temples built, I said. There's a lot there. What is she talking about? Is it a multi-layer metaphor pointing to the Creator? Is the Creator speaking here? Let's go to 489. We pray to heaven. And again, these are only about 8 lines. We prate of heaven. I'd have to look that word up. Relate when neighbors die, at what o'clock to heaven they fled. Who saw them? Wherefore fly? Is heaven a place, a sky, a tree? Location's narrow way is for ourselves. Until the dead there is no geography. But state in dowel focus where omnipresence fly. Well, that's interesting. Talking about heaven, talking about the narrow way. Neighbors dying, relate when neighbors dying, omnipresence. Those are Christian themes, definitely. Certainly a resurrection. Let's go to 491. I have 491 written down here. While it is alive until death touches it, while it in thy lap one air, dwell in one blood under one sacrament, show me division can split or pair. Love is like life, merely longer. Love is like death, there in the grave. Love is the fellow of the resurrection, scooping up dust and chanting, live. Oh my God. Wow. So see, God can do that. God can scoop up dust and chant live. So let me just, I got 3 more here and I'm going to call it quits. All right, the world stands solemner to me since I was wed to him. Modesty befits the soul that bears another's name. I doubt if it be fair indeed to wear that perfect pearl. The man upon the woman binds to clasp her soul for all. A prayer that it more angel prove, a wider gift within. To the munificence that chose so unadorned a queen, a gratitude that such be true. It had esteemed the dream, too beautiful for shape to prove, or posture to redeem. That's interesting. Alrighty, 501. The world is not conclusion, the species stands beyond, invisible as music, but positive as sound. It beckons, it baffles. Philosophy don't know. And through a riddle, at the last, sagacity must go. To guess it puzzles scholars. I love it. To gain it, men have borne contempt of generations and crucifixion shown. Faith slips and laughs and rallies. How true. Blushes if any see, plucks at a twig of evidence and asks a vain the way. Much gesture from the pulpit, strong hallelujahs roll. Narcotics can still the tooth that nibbles at the soul. These were all Christian themes here. Emily's one of the greatest poets who ever lived. Let's talk about 502. It's a little shorter. At least to pray is left, O Jesus, in the air. Rapture? I know not which thy chamber is. I'm knocking everywhere. 1 second. Thou settest earthquake in the south, and maelstrom in the sea, say Jesus Christ of Nazareth has thou no arm for me. So that's what I had for you today. There's a couple others. Safe in alabaster chambers, lie to meek members of the resurrection. You know, that's probably one of the most famous ones. I could probably look it up here. 216. See, the index is great because the first line is the index, is the title. This has always been one of my favorites. There's two versions of it. Safe in their alabaster chambers, untouched by morning and untouched by noon, lie the meek members of the resurrections, rafter of satin and roof of stone. Grand go the years in their crescents above them. Worlds scoop their rocks, and firmaments row. Diadems drop, and dodges surrender, soundless as dots on a disk of snow. So Emily has been slandered. This truly proves to me that she's a Christian poet. But the powers that be don't want people to know anything about the resurrection. They don't want people to know it's free. They don't want people to know that all you have to do is believe. But Jesus went to that cross, and it's proven. You know, there's a lot of objective evidence. You know, we're trained in our minds, we're conditioned that if it's too good to be true, it can't be true. Look at, we're all still, believe it or not, and just to bring this subject up, people laugh, but the Santa Claus effect, when we were children, we never really reconciled that and healed that pain, because when we tried to do, people would mock at us. Our peer group would mock, our parents would mock, authority group. And so when we hear about another God who gives you a free gift if you believe, or if you in Him, and then you get more gifts if you're good or not, well, you reject that out of hand because you've been hurt. You haven't reconciled that problem yet. So, and it's almost comical to even bring this subject up. That's a great tool that the enemy, the adversary, Satan is the adversary, but he's been defeated. He was defeated on the cross. But you can trust the Bible. It comes down to, is the Bible good news or not? And it also comes down to, can we trust the Bible? And is salvation free and easy or not? Well, it is free and easy. It is good news. And it can be trusted by objective sources like Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great really not a biblical character. He is in one sense in the book of Daniel. But he translated the Old Testament into Greek. So you got an objective benchmark in history that has a plethora of prophecies about a Messiah still to come 300 years later, who would be born in Bethlehem, right? He'd be from out of Egypt, right? He'd be from Galilee. He'd be a Nazarene. How did one person fulfill, or did one person ever, how can one person be from all four places? And has anybody done that? And does the name begin with J? That's Jesus. He's our Redeemer. we need a redeemer. We need to be saved. We're dying. We're subject to death at any moment. Look at my hair. Look at my teeth. I mean, we need the security. We need the insurance. That's why Christians are called to not point fingers. It's to declare a message. It's not to straighten out the world. It's to declare a message. When the kingdom comes, when Jesus comes in his kingdom, he's going to rule for 1,000 years. Then he'll clean up the world. All right? And yes, we should do good things. All right? We should help out. But if when we're doing that and abdicating our responsibility of giving this simple, pure message that even a child can understand, if we're not doing that job, we're wasting everybody's time. And the churches, they're afraid. 3 generations of churches have been tricked by Lyndon Baines Johnson to stay silent. And they don't even preach the gospel anymore. In fact, they've screwed up what the gospel is. I would say 80-90% of the churches don't teach the gospel. They'll double talk the gospel. They're duplicitous. They'll say it's grace, but they teach the law. And then there's an air of suspicion in the church, and there's no freedom, and you always have to prove yourself about how good you're doing in the world. That shows, and then they hook you with the tithing, which is Old Testament. Paul said, "Give cheerfully," but nothing about that's the law. The tithing is the law. You should give, if you can, when you can. But churches that are out there pioneered on a shoestring budget shouldn't be churches. They should be a group of elders coming together. And that's what the New Testament teaches. You're not these one pastors who come out and dominate a whole community, and you feel like you have to talk like him, you got to dress like him, you got to think like him, and you're just always wondering if he likes you or not. No, you need a group of elders who have financial wherewithal to carry the day, and start a church. And the church shouldn't have to depend on people who can barely scrape by as it is, and then say that they're not blessed by God, as it's happened to me, if you don't tithe. So those are that's where this one ended up going. Emily, she can bring you to God. You read the word; it's out of a devotion. You can sense that there's something special about Emily, but you'll never know it listening to the Amherst crowd, listening to the high school curriculum. That Emily's been slandered, but this Emily was a true champion. She's everything and nothing, as one critic once said. I agree with that. I mean, she should be somebody who leads you to God. You shouldn't start and end with Emily, but you can enjoy her for what she is, who she is, what she did, and the great life that she lived. She appreciated all of God's creation. She saw God through the creation. She was an expert botanist, as I mentioned before. So that's going to be my little take on Emily Dickinson, my favorite poet, the greatest writer outside of the Bible that ever lived. Spoke with economy of words, had the power and such creativity and brilliance. The dictionary was her friend. She loved Shakespeare, and she wrote about quoted Shakespeare a lot and loved the Bible. I mean, you're going to have the dictionary Shakespeare and the Bible in such a rich heritage that maybe you don't appreciate until you become, how old was I? 30 years old, 35 years old, because when we're in education, we're very limited in the curriculum, and we're not, only if you have an outside influence do you get to take in these other things in life. And, life experience can allow you to appreciate an Emily Dickinson. So that's it for today. I hope you got something out of this, and maybe we can talk about it, leave a comment. Love to hear what you think. And read Emily's letters or poems, and you will not be sorry. I hate saying that word. But that was a good context. All right, on that note, we'll see you later. Bye now.